biggest fortune in the city. Imagine holding in your hands the proof of an immeasurable fortune, but being treated as insane by everyone you know, including your own family. This is the true story of a simple man who walked on millions for decades while the world saw only filth, and the lonely battle he fought to prove he wasn't insane. For 10 long years, they called him the Garbage Baron, a spectre haunting the cobblestone streets, dressed in rags, clutching a plastic bag as if it contained the crown jewels. But what was inside that garbage that a man would sacrifice his family, sanity, and dignity to protect? Before becoming an urban legend, Elias was just a man. At 50, his body was a map of hard work, every callus on his hands and every furrow on his forehead a testament to a lifetime as a bricklayer. He lived in a small town in the countryside, a place where honesty was his only wealth and poverty his constant companion. His life was the rhythm of the sledgehammer, the smell of fresh cement, and the simple dream of giving a slightly better life to his wife, Maria, and their 2 children. One day, fate placed him at the demolition site of a 19th century mansion, a moribund structure that held the last gasp of a forgotten era. The air was heavy with the dust of old bricks and rotting wood. As Elias swung his sledgehammer against an interior wall, a hollow, unnatural sound echoed. It wasn't the sound of brick and mortar. Intrigued, he struck again. The wall gave way, revealing not the interior of the house, but a dark cavity. Inside, a small metal safe covered in the rust of time. Elias's heart raced. With trembling hands, he forced the corroded lock. Inside, there were no gold coins or glittering jewels. There was something far more powerful: documents. Imperial land deeds, yellowed and fragile, with an ornate calligraphy of archaic Portuguese, hand-drawn mining maps detailing veins of wealth beneath the earth. The documents granted their bearer legal ownership of a vast expanse of land, an area that, he knew, now housed the flourishing commercial center of the neighboring city. In that instant, under the harsh sun streaming through the hole in the wall, Elias saw more than just old paper. He saw the end of suffering. He saw a new house. He saw his children in college. He saw the smile of relief on Maria's face. He believed that his life had finally begun. Elias's euphoria was as intense as it was brief. With the precious documents in hand, his first stop was the local registry office. He presented the papers to the notary, a man with glasses perched on the tip of his nose, who examined them with an air of boredom. A mocking smile formed on his lips. "My dear Elias," he said, with a cutting condescension, "this here is, at best, a historical curiosity. At worst, a forgery." The word spread through the city with the speed of wildfire. The honest bricklayer gone mad. The laughter began as whispers and turned into open guffaws. Elias, desperate, used his meager savings to hire lawyers who promised him the world and delivered only bills. Amateur historians analyzed the papers and declared them worthless rubbish. Elias's obsession grew in proportion to his dwindling hope. At home, the atmosphere became unbearable. Maria, who had once shared her dreams, now saw only a man blinded by fantasy. "You're destroying us, Elias, for a pile of old paper!" she screamed, her eyes filled with tears of despair. The day she packed her bags and took the children was the day Elias's world completely crumbled. The house became silent, empty, haunted by the absence of his family. It was in this silence that Elias broke. He lost his job, then his house. His only possession was his documents, now protected inside a dirty plastic bag. The following decade was a blur of misery. Elias became the Garbage Baron, a pathetic figure who wandered the streets, talking to himself about his lost inheritance. The children who once respected him now threw stones. The adults who greeted him now crossed the street to avoid him. He became a parable, a cautionary tale about the dangers of dreaming too big. He slept in alleys, ate whatever he found, but never, ever abandoned his papers. In the cold of the nights, he unfolded them under the dim light of a lamppost, rereading the words that no one else believed. The only flame that kept him alive in the winter of his soul. The wheel of fate began to turn again, not because of Elias, but because of the greed of others. A gigantic construction company, Progreso Empreendimentos, planned to erect a commercial complex precisely on the land described in Elias's documents. During the legal review, their lawyers encountered an insurmountable obstacle: a centuries-old judicial embargo, a legal ghost that prevented any transaction. To solve the mystery, they hired Dr. Arthur Carvalho, a young and brilliant historian, an expert in deciphering the knots of history. Arthur delved into dusty archives, spending weeks connecting dots that no one else saw. It was during his research that he heard local tales about the garbage baron and his treasure maps. While others laughed, Arthur's intuition told him that the key might be there. He sought out Elias and found him sitting on the ground, near the ruins of the old mansion. Arthur approached him not with pity but with profound respect. "Mr. Elias," he said softly, "I've heard about your documents. I'm a historian. May I see them?" Elias, his eyes hardened by a decade of betrayal, hesitated. But there was a sincerity in Arthur's voice that disarmed his defenses. With trembling hands, he handed over the plastic bag. Arthur removed the papers with the delicacy of a surgeon. His eyes widened. He recognized the imperial royal seal, the specific watermark of the paper used by the crown. He took a laptop from his backpack and, using a handheld scanner, digitized the documents, cross-referencing the information with databases in the National Archives. A tense silence hung in the air. Then, Arthur looked at Elias, his face pale with astonishment and excitement. "My God," he whispered, "they are authentic. Mr. Elias, this is not trash. This is your inheritance. Legally, you own all of this." With the evidence validated by Arthur and the resources of the construction company, the legal battle was fought in federal courts. The truth, buried for so long, came to light with overwhelming force. The news broke. Elias, the madman, the destitute man, was the rightful owner of a fortune estimated at 50 million. The city that had humiliated him fell into a deafening silence. The next day, a line formed outside the modest hotel where Elias was staying. It was a procession of ghosts from his past. The notary who mocked him, the neighbors who laughed, the mayor who ignored him. They came with fake smiles and rehearsed excuses, each hoping for a piece of his newfound fortune. His ex-wife and children, now grown, were also there, their eyes filled with complex regret. They knocked on his door. Elias opened it. He was no longer the broken man they knew. He had showered, was wearing new clothes, but his eyes carried the weight and wisdom of his 10 years in the desert. He didn't shout. He didn't humiliate them. He simply looked at the crowd, then at Arthur, the only man who saw his worth when he had nothing. And then, without saying a single word, he closed the door softly. That sound, the gentle click of the lock, was his final answer, more powerful than any speech. His victory was not in the money, but in the recovery of his dignity, on his own terms. Elias never returned to his hometown. He used a portion of his fortune to create a foundation that offers legal and psychological support to people discredited by society, the madmen who dare to believe in inconvenient truths. His legacy was not built on the millions he earned, but on the quiet strength of a man who clung to the truth when the whole world offered him insanity as his only solace, teaching everyone that true wealth is not measured in gold, but in the courage to be true to oneself. And you, would you have Elias's persistence, or would you have given up at the first no? Leave a comment telling us what you would do with that fortune. If this story of justice moved you, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to support our work. See the story of our next adventure. She saved 300 lives without leaving her room. The story the world ignored. A reclusive young woman secretly, all without anyone around her knowing. See you there.